All right. Do you fetishize black people?
What?
Do you fetishize black people?
Fetish as in like, so.
Hey guys, welcome back to Liminal Period. It's your girl, Chun-Li Shoddy, and as you guys can see, today we're going to be watching and reacting to a video from The Cut. Today's episode is going to be a set of biracial children and their parents, and they're going to be playing the game of Truth or Drink. There are going to be a couple of uncomfortable questions, however, I think it's a great opener for conversations that are necessary.
Hi.
How you doing?
Hi.
Who are you two and how do you know each other?
I'm Isaiah. This is my dad.
Damien is my name.
I'm Aaliyah.
I'm her birth father.
Why are you saying it so weird?
This is my mother. So I was spit out of her vagina.
What is your ethnicity?
African American and Caucasian.
I am black and white.
My dad is Indian and my mom is black.
My mother is white, mixed European descent, and my father is Filipino, Asian descent.
So I did mention earlier in the video that I am of mixed descent as well. So I want to share a picture of my mom and dad. Yeah, these are the people that birthed me and raised me. Cute, I know. But anyways, can you guys guess what I'm mixed with? Vietnamese and black, if you didn't get it.
And my father is Filipino, Asian descent.
Do we want to start with a shot?
I'll start with a shot.
No, I actually don't drink, so I'm planning on telling the truth every time.
Oh, okay.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
That's so cute.
Cheers to being black and liking black men, I guess.
Okay, what are some mixed kid stereotypes?
Like mixed kids almost feel like they're better than everybody.
Sometimes we can be looked at as soft. Too white for the black kids, too black for the white. Just that identity crisis.
Right.
That we're whitewashed, but you're not even white, so that doesn't even really apply in that sense, but I've gotten that before.
Like mixed folks are really beautiful.
I did hear that a lot when you guys were kids too. Ah, best of both worlds.
Okay, so for sure I've heard all of those stereotypes, I guess. But I wouldn't necessarily say that we're seen as too soft. However, I would say that you struggle with an identity crisis because personally, I don't ever feel Asian enough, not only because of, I am, if you guys don't know this, but I am a lot tanner than other Vietnamese people. My hair texture is more coarse. I have other features that to other people, they might not be able to distinguish the fact that I'm mixed. However, within the Vietnamese community, it's very apparent that my siblings and myself were not the same. Okay, so to a certain extent, you're not seen as Asian enough. I'm not sure if how many people are aware, but colorism exists around the world. So even within the continent of Asia, East Asians look at Southeast Asians in a certain way. You'll find a lot of clips of them describing East Asians as like the smarter ones, the ones that are more established, the ones that are more well put together. And then you have the Southeast Asians, such as the Thais, Cambodians, Laos, Vietnamese, and they're seen as the jungle Asian, the dark skin Asians. So colorism does exist around the world. So now imagine that you're Vietnamese and black. Within the black community, I'm never seen as black enough, despite my upbringing or the community that I was raised in, unless I'm constantly bringing up pictures of my parents or pictures of my cousins and other family members. People are going to discount what I say about the black community because I'm not black enough. If you guys don't believe me, go look in a couple of the videos I have that is a little bit more specific to the black community, such as the conversation with Angel Reese in LSU and crying victimhood.
Tell me the most racist thing you've ever done, or take a shot.
I don't know. Can I pass? Or is pass not an option?
No, you take a sip.
You gotta
if
drink.
want to pass.
Oh, geez. I'll drink up.
I remember one time when we went to a restaurant and I'd called ahead to make sure they would take my credit card. And we got there and we ate and I went to pay with the credit card. And the Chinese lady at the cashier said, "Oh, we don't take a credit card." And I said, "Well, I don't have cash on me." And she says, "You go to the bank, you go to the bank." And I started talking about her like that. "You go to the bank, you go to the bank." And I said, "No, it's not okay." And she's like, "Yes, yes, yes." And I was portraying it to people when I got home, how irritated I was with her. And I was speaking about her in that ridiculous accent. She didn't sound like that. I was making her sound like that. And I think it was one of you girls who pointed out to me how racist that was. And I was so ashamed because I didn't even think of it as being racist.
So, do you feel comfortable saying the N-word Why or why not?
I do. I grew up saying it with some of my friends, and we say it to each other more in endearing terms.
Sure. Be like me calling one of my friends dude.
It's very similar.
Similar
yeah.
to that?
Yeah.
I do feel comfortable saying the N-word because I'm black. You know, I don't identify as half white or mixed race or biracial. I've just always identified as black. Even still, it's not something that
So I wanted to hit pause right here because I wanted to share a clip from AMALA Ekonobi. And if you guys aren't aware, she is a very popular political commentator, but she also does reaction videos to clips like this. She is also of mixed descent. However, and I'm about to be full transparent right here, but I think when society allows you to identify more black because of how you're presenting, you're able to have certain opinions or say certain hot takes without getting as much backlash. I'm a lean on AMALA for her take on this one, but I share her sentiment.
even still, it's not something that I say very.
If she said, I am mixed race, I am biracial, could you then be able to say the N-word, or does that sort of dilute your power when it comes to being able to utilize that word? I definitely use the N-word when I'm listening to music, and I listen to a lot of hip hop, I listen to a lot of rap music. I would never use it in regular conversation and never use it to refer to somebody, even on like the friendly basis that people use that word. It doesn't feel particularly comfortable. It doesn't feel particularly necessary. But y'all know that I never get overly sensitive about the use of the N-word, and there's so many different ways in which it's used today that I think for the most part are fine. I've not really in my life, or all that often in my life, heard somebody use the N-word, hard R, in a derogatory manner, other than like on the internet where people are trolling and trying to get a rise out of other people.
Thank you, AMALA.
Do you feel comfortable saying the N-word?
I don't think I've ever said it, like, really ever.
Do you feel uncomfortable saying it though? Like if you said it right now.
I don't really want to.
So
I guess I do feel uncomfortable.
I always see that as more of a derogatory term
It is a
that people
derogatory
use.
term. Yeah.
So to me, it's not appropriate in the family or outside.
No, I disagree with you on that.
Okay,
I think that if you are black, you are allowed to say it.
Okay,
But
whatever.
that's where we.
Okay.
Does it ever bother you when I embrace my other race and culture more than yours?
No, because I've never seen that happen. But if it did, it wouldn't bother me.
That's an interesting question.
I think it does because you always will say like, when I'm like, oh, I'm black, you're like, no, you're black and Indian. Like you're very much like.
Yeah, so to be honest, yeah, it does bother me, but not in a way that you think it bothers me, because I accept it. But I wish you would embrace the other side a little bit more too.
See, this is so interesting because I feel like between the two biological children that you have, I am the only one that is more like inclined to be like, hey, Dad, share this about like your culture with me. I feel like you should take a shot for that one.
All right, good Lord.
Because you like threw me under
Are
the
you
bus.
getting uncomfortable, Amit?
No, not uncomfortable.
But I recognized later on in life that, I guess there can be things that you identify with more in regard to your race and your culture. But the reality is that you're mixed race. The reality is that your biological makeup is of two different races, or two or more races, depending on who you are. And you can portray yourself as something or say that you are black, but in reality, you are a mix of the parents that created you. And back in the day, you used to be told, if you're going to apply for a job or a scholarship, just mark black, because that's going to have you get better chances. You're going to be better off. You probably already identify with your blackness more than the other side. And I think that's just a narrative that's pushed onto people. And in reality, you are what you are, which is a mixed race individual. And just a question in regard to the N-word, at what point are you no longer allowed to say it? What if you're a quarter black, or an eighth black, or 1/16? At what point is the cutoff for you no longer being able to utilize the N-word? Y'all let me know. Or does it not even matter? As long as you have a little bit of black in you, you're able to use that word. Let me know in the comments down below.
Okay, like I said, I wanted to lean on AMALA a little bit in this video because that is a question that I've always had. How black is black enough in order for you to get the black card in certain instances? Because it just seems like it's based on the people that you're surrounding yourself with. Because if you are raised like I was in a city that was predominantly black and there was a non-existent community of Asian people, and actually I'm going to backtrack a little bit, okay? So I was actually raised in Atlanta. However, in middle school, my mom moved us down to a city in South Georgia. I'm going to pull up the demographics real quick. So pause. So I actually went to middle school and high school in a very small town in South Georgia. As you can see, it's a very small population. And during the time that I went to school there, it was roughly around 10,000 people. And as you guys can see here, the demographic and breakdown of it is going to be around 67% Black and 25% white, and measly 1.5% Asian. So I want to show that because with all of the conversations around identity politics, and recently we did find out the information around Sunny Hostin being a part of the slave trading family, I always wonder, is Black a culture? Is Black a biological thing? Is that what we're judging it based on? And I don't know. I think that conversation is still TBD, and I do plan on making other videos on that just so that we can have a little bit more conversation and transparency through it. But anyways, let's get back into it.
Bother you when I embrace my other race and culture more than yours?
Right.
No.
Do you fetishize Black people?
What?
Do you fetishize Black people?
Fetish as in like, so I would definitely not say fetish, because fetish, I take that word to be kind of like an obsession, like not, but I definitely, I definitely have always, let me read the question.
You can also say no.
No, because okay, so fetish, no. If I got to answer the question directly, no. I don't fetishize Black people.
But you think they look good though.
But yeah, so can I elaborate a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. I will admit this. I definitely have, a preference, I think would be the word, for African American ladies.
For sure, dude.
If that makes sense. But not a fetish. It's not a fetish thing. It's.
I got that from him too.
But definitely, yeah. But definitely a preference. So anyway, that's my long answer to that question. What's the whitest thing I do?
Dancing. Yeah, dancing.
Fair enough.
It doesn't look bad if he keeps it simple.
Right, I've learned my lesson.
It doesn't get
just
doesn't
play
get
it
too
safe,
crazy.
keep it simple.
Name 5 Black movies in 20 seconds. If you can't, you can take a shot.
Black movies?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Good Lord.
Black movies. Okay, so this conversation is really lighthearted, and that's why I wanted to highlight this video. However, I think it's very interesting that whenever we say describe someone being Black or being white, we do narrow it down to these very superficial things such as pop culture. And that's why I say I wonder what makes someone Black, what makes someone white. Is it their dance moves? Is it the movies they're watching? Is it the food that they're eating? What is it? Because at the end of the day, when you're in America, you're American, right? So I don't know. And I'm sorry if some people are going to get mad at me for this conversation. Again, I'm just asking, what is it? Not saying that it doesn't exist. Just help me understand and define it for me, please.
Yeah, Tyler.
Oh, and again, I'm saying this because in this lighthearted manner, it's fine. But when you have people like Dr. Umar Johnson saying that Candace Owens is not Black or Larry Elders is not Black because of their mindset and their ideology, and them not putting Black and the Black race at the forefront of all of their issues, I think that's why I need to define this. Like, we can talk about it in, Fund the Cut, Jubilee, whatever type of videos, but how does it translate into the legal system? And again, I wanted to circle it back around because people are still having conversations around reparations and what does that mean to the Black community. However, it leads me to think that even if we did come to a conclusion as far as America deciding, yes, green light on reparations, how do we define who can receive that? Hot take for another day.
Medea.
Medea. Medea.
There's one? Which one? Which Medea?
Medea goes to wherever.
Wherever she goes.
Name 5 Black movies in 20 seconds. If you can't, you have to take a shot.
The Mac, Car Wash, Friday,
10 seconds.
Foxy Brown.
One more, you got this.
Okay.
The Help, Medea's Family Reading, Get Out, what else we got? Friday, Coming to America. Go, Mom, yeah!
What's one question you have about my ethnicity that you've been afraid to ask?
So what's your experience like dating as a Black woman?
Sometimes I would feel like I'm not Black enough to date Black guys because I don't come across in the way that they would typically go for.
So I definitely know where she's coming from. So not only are you dealing with an internal identity struggle, however, you're also getting this heat from the outside world. Not only are you getting people, like I said earlier, Dr. Umar Johnson, who is preaching Be One and only Black love, but you're also getting it from reality TV. I want to go ahead and share a clip from a popular Netflix show called Love is Blind. It's going to be a clip from a conversation that AD had with Kenneth. Kenneth was at that time engaged to a white woman, and he didn't know she was white when they were in the pods because, again, love is blind. So anyways, gonna include it, and you guys let me know what you think.
When y'all get married, she's gonna have to raise Black children.
Yeah.
And are you confident that she can raise Black children?
Sometimes I would feel like I'm not like Black enough to date like Black guys because I don't come across in the way that they would typically go for.
What were your fears around raising a biracial kid?
I definitely have had a fear of, and I hope this is okay to say, I've had fears that you would be targeted by law enforcement, or, even just targeted, period. Not even by law enforcement, just by anybody wanting to mess with you. So,
definitely one of my fears as well.
Yours as well? You've had a fear? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Coming to a couple of close situations like that that you know of.
What were your fears around raising a biracial kid?
The fact that they would not know who they were, whether they were of the Black ethnicity or the white ethnicity, then they wouldn't fit in.
Okay, this is a good one. Can you recall a time when you struggled with your identity and you were afraid to talk to me about it?
I would say more in like elementary and middle school ages. I was definitely had some identity crisis, especially because that was kind of the period of life where I was away from my mom quite a bit. And I still had friends that were African American, but I felt like sometimes I would get made fun of a little bit from them because, I still live with my white dad, blah, blah.
So I want to hit pause because I think it's really interesting, and this is just from an outsider perspective, but also I think that the observation I'm about to make can also be applied to myself, right? Looking at this young guy, like, to be quite honest, he doesn't look like he's Black. Obviously, he looks mixed of some sort. You can see by the texture of his hair. You can see the melanin in his skin. However, when you're talking about predominantly Black features or stereotypically Black features or white features, you wouldn't necessarily get that, right? And on top of that, he was also raised by his white father. So you're in a white community. You don't appear to look Black. For some reason, you also identify more closely with that side of your biology. And that's honestly completely okay. That's why I want to show you guys the demographic of the town that I came from. How can I truly identify as a authentic Asian woman when there's only 1.5% Asian people in a town of 10,000 people? Do you know where that 1.5% comes from? More than likely, my mom. More than likely, she is the representation that I have. So is it based on the community that you're raised in? Is it based on how you look? Is race or identity based on all of the above? It is. It's a multifaceted thing, and that's why I say it's really hard for us to base laws or how we treat people based purely on race, because especially in America, it's becoming more and more convoluted, the conversation of identity.
That was kind of the period of life where I was away from my mom quite a bit. And I still had friends that were African American, but I felt like sometimes I would get made fun of a little bit from them because, I still live with my white dad, blah, blah, blah.
My mom always brings it up when I was like younger and I came home and I was just like, Mom, why don't I look like the other girls? Like, why don't I look like normal? And I think she said she went into her room and like cried about it because she felt so bad that I had to even like ask. But I was just like, why isn't my hair straight? Why do I look different?
Growing up, it was hard trying to figure out where I fit, and it would be kind of jarring to meet Black kids who would be like, oh, you're not Black. Or the first time I went to visit my family in Ohio, the Black side of my family, they're like, oh, you act white. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy. Like, I'm just me, But at the same time, playing on sports teams that were mostly white, feeling like I stood out so much because I was half Black.
Really interesting thing to have to deal with, especially from in your youth, because you don't have the tools to interpret what's being said. You don't have the wisdom to understand your place in the world and understand the fact that other people's opinions might not exactly be correct. You're just getting the opinion and taking that internally and having to process it through your little kid brain. And it's a really difficult thing to go through. I don't know that I struggled deeply with my identity as a kid. And I'd have to ask my mom whether or not I ever came to her with any concerns about the way I looked other than my hair hair and wanting it to be straight. That's the only thing that I can really think of. But I can definitely recall that at my school, black kids sort of congregated together and white kids sort of congregated together. And of course, there was a little bit of mixing here and there. And as you get older, that becomes, more prevalent and all that. But I would have a group of black friends that I would hang out with. And then I had a group of white friends that I would hang out with. And there would be some mixing, but not too much. And there was just that split that existed. And interestingly enough, by both sides of the spectrum, I was referred to as like Oreo, because, you have your white parent and your black parent. But I don't really think that brought about any crisis within me. And if anything, I thought that was an endearing thing, I guess, to be referred to as an Oreo. And I had, one friend group and I had the other friend group and I was chilling. But, you get removed from your childhood. So I can't exactly tell you how I was feeling or what I thought or felt at the time of experiencing those things. But nothing really stands out. I'm curious to all the other biracial or mixed race people who are listening right now. Did you experience an identity crisis in childhood and what brought that about? Drop it down below.
See, and I think it's very interesting. Like I said earlier, I think that your experience and your identity is very individualized, right? Because for AMALA, being called an Oreo or having a set of black friends and a set of white friends both acknowledge the fact that you're biracial is very endearing. But many of us aren't going to have that same experience. Like I said, when I was around the Asian kids, you were too dark, right? You were like straight up, like even my mom in Vietnamese, they would call her name and the word black in front of it. Like they would describe her as black this. She looked different, even though she was Asian. If you guys go back to the pictures I showed you guys, she has really, really curly hair. Like she just has naturally curly hair. So people always assume that she was mixed as well. So that's the thing. It's like when we don't fit into certain boxes and parameters that people place us in, sometimes you can be ridiculed and sometimes you can be pedestalized. Whenever I moved down south, they actually saw me as black and Asian. They saw me as Blackanese or Blasian. Like this was the time period that Kimora Lee Simmons, you had Janae Aiko, you had Amarie, you had Cassie, you had a lot of mixed Asian and black women, and a lot of times they were fetishized or they were exoticized, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to say that it's all positive, but in different communities you're embraced and in different communities you're exiled. So I think it's very interesting to hear other biracial people's experience. And to be quite frank, I'm actually going through identity crisis as I'm getting older. As I become more and more comfortable with my own thoughts and perspective, seeing how other would box you or dismiss your opinions just based on how you present, I think is very interesting. And for so long in America, we worked so hard on trying to be judged based on the merit or the content of our character. However, we're again constantly bringing it back to how do you present yourself. I am going to make another video and it's going to focus a little bit more on Dr. Umar Johnson and his perspective on what black is and what being black in America is and who can identify as being black. I really enjoyed having this conversation today. If you guys enjoyed it, please do hit like and subscribe, and I'll talk again with you guys next time. Bye.